into the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm sorry, Derek, were you all set? Okay. All right. Item 2, public comment. Anyone from the public want to make a comment? What? 3 comments. Public comment closed. Item 3, discussion of possible action. Item A, needs assessment report. I'm guessing.
What I would like to just mention tonight, you have in your notebooks the priorities that the principals and assistant principals have put together. This is a good summary. They've spent a lot of time with this. I know that they'd like to have an opportunity to talk to you about it. Tonight they had planned for many months ago, they had scheduled a meeting for a dinner in Shelton. So that's where they're at. They have 2 meetings a year as a union group. So they're together tonight, and it's something, like I said, they'd already scheduled. But if you will notice, we can start with Bungie just very quickly. And you can look at what their level 1 priorities were. One happened to be a full-time social worker, full-time building sub. They also would like full-time.
Just trying to flip it.
Yeah, okay.
Is it past the PowerPoint?
Yes. It's at, basically at the very end of your notebook, almost. Past the shallow sheet, and it says supervision. So just in regard to me very quickly,
Everybody got it?
Craig Allen, near the very end, past the yellow sheet to the right notebook.
Last yellow.
Yes. Okay. So it talks about the administrator's priority 1, and that's what we asked him to do. So very quickly, Bundy's was a full-time social worker. On the second page, it was a full-time building sub, which I think this is very important. And the next was a full-time pre-K English ELL coordinator. The next one is a part-time band instrumental person. So Chatfield has similar. They always ask every year. This time they're asking for an extra unified arts teacher. We currently are sharing where our Bungie unified arts people have to go over for the first period of the day, 1 day a week, because their enrollment is 470 counting preschool, and Chatfield is 535. And if you look proportionally, the amount of kids, this was the right thing to do at the time.
Could we ask a quick question?
If it's pertaining to that, yes.
Well, I'm asking you.
This is discussion.
I'm confused how a unified art teacher, art, music, PE, which one, and how do you just get one, and how do you make it work? I don't understand how one, because I do know they're not multi-certified. You know, I have somebody that's a PE teacher, music, and art teacher.
Let me clarify. We have one art teacher, one music teacher, each go from Bungie
Right.
to Chatfield. And they go like 1 day a week, and young kindergarten classes, is to make the prep times work out.
I understand it's tied to the prep time, but I don't understand how adding one FTE, unified art teacher, is going to solve the problem with that.
Well, that's probably very true. There's a better way to try to work this out. And you understand schedules because you have been a principal.
Right.
And they're just looking at basically Chatfield would like to have another full-time unified arts teacher and not ask the Bucky teachers to come over.
I understand, but what I'm just questioning is how you can do it
What would they teach?
with one, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
right, and it would be, because you get into one specific content.
Because I'm thinking a possible solution, but that, I'm sure that would be a union issue. But because I remember that when I came here, at one time a year, they used to do the unified arts on abbreviated days. And if you were at the end of the schedule, you missed that unified arts day. And I said that was ludicrous.
Not
When I came, I changed, if we have the unified arts, your teachers are having less time to teach everything. So the unified arts teachers have to do less time, so that's what you do. But I understand this situation, that if we were doing it all year, I'm sure it would be a union issue, because the Bungie teachers would have more of a prep time than the Sheffield or Preston teachers would have, and I know that wouldn't fly.
Have we ever, and I know I mentioned this before, instead of doing something along this lines, figure out how we can turn in unified arts or something using that block of time that seems to be up in question, and have like a once a week world language.
Well, what would really be wonderful in the world of lots of money, or even not lots of money, is how to be creative if we did have, because a lot of schools have elementary, they have Spanish. I actually had it in New Jersey, one of my elementary schools. And I think that's probably, they would love even if it was just a Spanish teacher. We currently have a 6/10 French teacher at the high school. But just looking at the possibilities and where we're at, what would be an ideal package is to get the ELL and also Spanish speaking as well in the mix. But like you said, Ed, schedule, this ain't gonna totally work. You gotta think in a different way.
Yeah.
They need good, the staff is very creative. Sometimes you can take a teacher and they can actually come up with a better creative way than us as administrators. Just looking at schedules.
I just wanted to point out that at the end of this narrative about the unified arts teacher, it says, as for what the additional unified arts teacher would be, meaning what they would teach, I mean, so there are several possibilities that interest us. Before we get into what subject will be first, before we get into what the subject would be, first and foremost, be the position added. I think that is backwards. So maybe some feedback can be given that says.
It seems like they care about having an extra person for morning duties more than anything, but
And I think it would be good for them to come to speak to their request. But like you said, just looking at it and know that you've already taken the time to look at it. I know you're going to take it home and you're going to do more in-depth study. It's just looking at exactly this is some of the possibilities of what they would like. So that's kind of where we are. But there's better ways sometimes to think out of the box. And sometimes they knock it out of the park. And sometimes we got to even be more creative, including myself. But working out that schedule, Ed, you and I are on the same page. I don't know. The other thing that they ask for every year, and I know Mr. Blake would appreciate me saying, is he asks for a social worker every year. So that's the second request. Then another third request that he asks for every year is always a secretary. Our secretaries work very diligently, they're very dedicated, and especially over there when they had 500 and, well, it was almost 90-some kids. They were close to the enrollment at the close of school last year, not this year, but they almost had 590 kids, and that was tough. And now they have 545 because we moved the preschool to Bungie, and the enrollment grew more the year before with the amount of kids coming in. Also remember too, when you're thinking about enrollment, with kindergarten classes, Bungie this time for once went down to 3, which that hasn't happened in years. It always had 4. Chatfield had 5. So that also made Chatfield going into first grade for this year, they had to have 5 first grade teachers. So that was another teacher. So we're just talking about staffing, you have the staffing sheet in there too, that will talk about current enrollment where we are. So secretary, and then permanent building sub, something that is requested that you will see a constant theme in all three schools. The high school doesn't have to have a permanent sub. They've been very good about taking the prep times because their schedules are different and being able to cover. The three schools have requested a permanent building sub. That's why at this time, we just went ahead and put it in the budget. You can tell us whether to leave it, take it out, whatever. But that's a constant theme with all three of them, okay? Middle school, as I told Keith O'Rourke today, I said, Keith, looks like you wrote a mini dissertation about all of the wonderful instructional things that you would have. I said, welcome to Seymour. This is something that if we all had plenty of money, what would be idealistic is to have instructional coaches. We have people in our schools who are capable of being instructional coaches. They have the certifications. But right now, that's not kind of where we are financially. But anyhow, you did talk about the addition of a social studies teacher. They did get a math teacher. If you remember, this past fall, we were gracious in adding that. And that was not in the original budget. They were cut a teacher, in all good fairness.
I'm sorry?
They were cut a teacher. So the other thing, he wants 2 instructional coaches, both.
Let me just interrupt again.
Yeah.
His suggestion for social studies teacher that had dual certifications is more well thought out plan.
Yeah.
If you did have somebody that the double certification would work.
It's great when you can get double certifications. And like I said, he did a beautiful job. But I just said, we're not, it's great, but there's no way you can do all of that. I didn't want to bust his bubble today. And that's not my call, it's your call. The other thing with instructional coaches, both mathematics and language arts, that's the dream, what you want in every school. Again, what did he put on the next page? I don't know why he didn't say 1, he wants 3. 1 for each grade. Exactly. Great, Ms. Martin. That's right, you figured it out. He wants 1 for each grade. So that's what we have. The high school, Mr. Floyd and I, it's always a quite in-depth conversation that Mr. Floyd and I have had for the past 3 years. We respect each other. Every now and then we kind of will disagree, but we'll come back around and try to figure out what can we do. But he's always very respectful, and we're usually always on the same page. But he also would, he would love to get a point. Well, he's got a request here of again, just looking at the priorities of 0.5 assistant principal. He's also, basically, what he really also emphasized, he would like an alternative education program. That was discussed both the middle school and the high school. And then he and Mr. Lucky very seriously, very sincerely, would like to have an unarmed school security force. And that's something that they have really stressed.
And why unarmed when our elementary are armed?
Well,
What struck me strange, and I know the schools are bigger, but the elementary schools have 1.
and we currently have, as you all know, the school resource officer does a great job. We have also Mr. Henry that's in the office quite a bit there. My recommendation with everybody is to walk the halls randomly. We need to increase cameras. This is a situation of where that the building, the layout of the building is tough. It is large, and you know that. It's very spread out, the science wing and the other 2-story wing.
There's a lot of dead ends.
A lot of dead ends, a lot of places where kids, it's hard to supervise all those areas. And cameras on every stairwell. So the kids they're very smart in figuring out where they think the cameras are. But there's also ways you can put up cameras in all those ways that we need to try to be on top of it. It is a sincere request. The reason I think for unarmed, they're thinking if they help break up the fight in that situation, I think it might be best too to consider, what if you had another school security guard, maybe who didn't always carry a gun? That might be best as well. I don't know, I'm not an expert in that. I think that's what we're thinking. Even if they would cost less, maybe to get an unarmed security officer, we're probably looking at somebody that is a retired police person, of course, that.
That's what we do presently. Yeah,
My question,
Go ahead.
if we don't know the specifics, that's fine. Will an armed security officer not intervene in a fight because of the fear of someone disarming him?
Yeah, that's why there are thoughts about an unarmed security officer because of a gun. If they had a gun, it would be dangerous in this situation. So, like I said, I'm not a law enforcement expert like the chief or like Ed Henry. I'm just saying that is a good line of thought, but maybe, what would be the requirement? They always have to carry a gun.
If we decide to move with this, maybe we can have Ed come in for a few minutes at our next workshop, just kind of explain what the vision, or even just send us something.
And maybe even, like I said, he works close with the chief. I don't know, what is this? I don't know, I'm not, it's one area that I'm not blessed with law enforcement knowledge.
You hate to say it, I don't know, the vision that I'm seeing of this person is somebody who's big, and lumbering, and walking through the halls, not a retired person.
Well, that'd be somebody who could really do
Yeah,
it.
say the presence.
Yeah, with the presence, who can move fast. And so, to be honest with you, and they will tell you more of that. They don't want, as administrators or workers' comp, they don't want to get into where they're having to physically themselves break up a horrible fight and they get injured. So, that did occur. So it's just something to think about. Here's what's happening. There are a lot of districts, a lot of schools, they have the statistics to show us. They do have more supervision in the hallways, and these are local schools around us. We're not talking Waterbury, we're not talking Bridgeport, we're talking like even other small districts.
Is our contract with the teachers generally aligned with surrounding districts in terms of not having teachers do duties like hallway monitoring? And I know that's what, in New York anyway, my mom's teacher, they always had those types of duties.
And we still have them here, Kristen, and that's a good one. And they do have some hall duties assignments. We do have people assigned to the hallways. Electronic hall passes have worked well. It's just the size of the building and what happens with fights, and it's just tough.
Is there,
We're not having lots of fights, I'll be the first to tell you that.
this
I don't want to send a message to the public. We have a very disciplined school at Seymour High School.
is that virtual all pass at middle school yet? No.
No,
Is there a plan to do that?
not right now, that's,
So do we have a job description for the security guard position?
no.
No, once we approve it.
Move it.
And I don't even know whether it's, like I said, what is the right composition of this person? I think that Mr. Lucky and Mr. Floyd can speak to this. I know that Mr. Lucky's done a lot of research about it, and he's very passionate about it. And he's just saying, I'm confident it's in other high schools, and we just don't have it.
Maybe
So
we
maybe I need to go
maybe
visit
have them
some.
just even write out a job description, so we can look at it. This way, we're not blindly approving.
Research it more.
Research, yeah,
It's probably been research, it just hasn't been.
right.
Well,
It's probably everything in the SSO job description minus being.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, and I'm thinking, I'm laughing when you guys talk about it. I remember back in Ansonia with Jack Hunt, 6'8", 270 pounds was security. Never had a gun. But, I mean, you gotta be careful, obviously. When you apply for a job, you can't tell somebody my side, I can't apply for a job. say, you know, and that's a.
Well, you could always have physical requirements, right?
That's how you would address it.
Yeah.
But now, our school resource, the resource officer, I forget how much we pay.
The town
That's a
pays,
share, they pay
they
completely?
pay him, yeah, that's something that we covered in the town budget, some that they do pay for
Well,
him.
maybe we ought to ask the police.
And the middle school.
Another school resource officer.
I don't know, I mean, we're talking budgets, and they're kind of the shape that we're into. I mean, it's getting to where every dollar counts, and trying to figure out what together, figure out what we can do. I don't know, but it's another thought.
Yeah, because,
Another
you know, I've heard rumors many times that for our size of a community, the number of police officers that are employed by the town of Seymour is high. So, I mean, if that is a true fact, and I don't know if that is.
Well, the only thing I have learned, and I say this very respectfully, that
Yeah.
they have a contract, and I can tell you the chief is just like we have contracts.
Yeah.
And the time of obligations and duties and their time and hours and all that. It's very complicated in the police world, and I had some understanding, but I got a whole different understanding from the budget summit, and he explained it in a really great way, what all of his officers are required to do. And you know, the mandates, the more restrictions, things they have to do with body cams and all that. I mean, it's a different world now, in 2024.
I don't think a school resource officer is gonna break a fight. For
Well,
the same reason that our armed officers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
what is in here? What are your initial thoughts to include?
Okay, well, let's just get through this real fast out of respect. Also, with special education.
No, we're not even close to that, I think we had, well, we went very, very quickly.
Yes, yeah, and
Oh, from the first two things, and I would like to just make a request that we get more information, because the thing that I'm most intrigued with is the alternative education program, there's nothing there.
And they really would like to set up a virtual program and looking at the resources of what we have, and possibly the funding or teacher, whatever, but that's something more in depth. I think you would like to see, maybe you would love to have that, could you tell us what it is
Exactly.
in more detail?
And again, we went super quickly over this top one. Didn't we reinstate or approve a position to be filled to be the head of school counseling services? So is this level one priority? So they're asking just to restore the half full-time assistant principal because we already have? I don't know what this ask is.
Well, technically, that's a different type of ask. It's very complicated in the personnel world, and I won't go into depth. The only thing I can tell you is that we currently have a director of athletics, which was the part, you had a third assistant principal. Part of that assistant principal's duties was to be the athletic director. We've well covered that. We blessed with that position and the assistant that already existed. So this is something that we won't go into detail about. It's a wish list.
Are they asking for half a person or one? Whole?
Half.
Okay.
Half person.
That's what I'm thank you.
Then the other next thing is special ed. In a wonderful dream world, Dr. Boyle would like to have an assistant director of youth services. And he would also like to have another BCBA. Our stipend BCBA program has started to work effectively. We now have a second person that is a certified person that was just hired last month. So that's been a good plan. The other thing he is alluding to about creating an alternative ed program at the high school and also the middle school with some of the needs of the kids. So I think we need to come up with basically one alternative school program and come back with a better, more in-depth description. I think they've done a very good job. They like lots of things. We can't give everything. I can't speak for them tonight, that would be wrong. But I think we've done our due diligence, this is a start. And at the next working summit, workshop, arts full time, and the ELL. She has what Dundee would like to have. For the reason that Sheffield has it is because they qualify between kids with the amount of students. Okay, Dundee's not there. In the real world of everything, they would love it, but that's currently where we are.
I need more clarification on that, Dr. Crockett.
Okay.
I don't understand what you mean by the numbers they qualify for it.
Chatfield has more than the population. We had to hire a qualified teacher. The state required us to do specialists.
ELL.
Yeah.
ELL. Okay. That qualified. And the numbers.
You know, I get it, that's the state law, but it's a huge equity issue. But just because you're in a school with 20 ELL students, you get to have an ELL teacher, but if you're in a school with 18 ELL students, you don't.
We want services, and she is providing some services at Mundy. You know, it's gonna have to go to where there's, and thank goodness, we have 2 people certified in the high school, very proud of them. And so we're getting the game plan in place, and we're gonna have to have a person in every school.
I'm more concerned about the language arts consultant support at each of the elementary schools to make sure that should be a full-time person in each school. We're rolling out the new curriculum.
But sometimes too, as you know, they're going to a reading coach. And actually the movement of where they're really going to is having these totally reading instructional coaches. So that might be something down the road you want to revisit. It's just right now, we have 2 fine ladies and language arts consultants in the certification. They work beautiful at Chatfield and Dundee, and this other one got the certification. And I think we've done well with what we've had.
So we have a full-time person in each school that's dedicated to language arts.
No, at the Dundee, we have the qualified, and she's doing it.
Yeah.
So is this just asking to increase to a full-time or add an entire full-time?
Because they're asking, which is add full-time, but they're not there in numbers, but I know what you're saying. Everybody deserves the services, and they are getting services, it's just not in an intense program having to full-time. Right?
You know, because I almost read that a little bit different, but maybe it didn't. I thought they wanted a language arts consultant who is double certified to do ELL. Because there's a difference between language arts certification and
Yes.
ELL certification. So again, you know, where we find these kind of people who can do both, unless we get somebody and we encourage them to get certified. But if we did that, I'm sure that the person would say, well, who's going to pay for it?
We currently have a teacher at Chatfield who has certification.
And both,
At ELL and elementary. They don't.
but not a language arts consultant
No,
simultaneously.
no, they do not have that. We don't know. We only have one person that has that. Okay?
See, I've been saying for years, and I said this way back, that we have teachers in our system, the elementary level, and Bristol North too, who have a language arts certification, but not the language arts certification.
Consult.
The old 97, they have one below. And the way those people can get from the old 95, I think it was, to the old 97, is they have to serve in a position that
Yes.
requires a old 95. That's why I've always maintained that some of our, what do they call it? The teachers that help the kids.
SRPI.
Yeah.
SRBI, that we should mandate that SRBI positions, at least one of them be the reading certification.
And the training.
So if that person serves in it for a year, then that person becomes a language arts consultant. We don't have to look for somebody and pay more money for somebody coming from another district. When we can reward somebody from within.
And I don't know enough to know if that's changed in terms of the certification.
So for the online set.
I think it's still in place. I can find out. It's something too. We lost an outstanding teacher at Chatfield. She hopes to return to Seymour someday because
you went to get that certification. And as you said, literacy, what's most important is literacy. Literacy is exit the third grade. We know that. You all are very intelligent, board members, highly intelligent, and you know the need. And goals, even for the state of Connecticut. So I'm just saying, what you're saying is true.
So, in terms of the language arts leadership, we have a full-time person at Chatfield. We have a half-time person at Bundy. In terms of ELL support, what do we have at each school?
The only thing, we do have some services that are being provided at Bundy, but the true ELL instructor teacher is at Chatfield, based upon the state requirement.
So
now kids that qualify, that have to have ELL.
So the person, the language arts leadership person at Bundy is there half-time, and the other half of the time, she's at Chatfield teaching ELL students.
And it's a Band-Aid approach. It's worked well, but it can't sustain forever.
And I just think, I'm concerned that Bundy teachers don't have enough support in need. And they need it. This is not something that can wait because we're introducing a curriculum now.
So you're right on it. Okay, I'll go over and go through this real fast. You have a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. We wanted to showcase our kids, their staff in this. I think it's just good to, one of the things Ms. Harmley always said, Dr. Compton, we need to tell our story. Your communications is what your undergrad degree is in. So you always said you need to tell the story. So that's what we've prepared with this. It's a lot better than what I had last year. I want to say thank you for the people that helped me. Mary Sue Feige helped with the pictures and with the recruitment of getting all these pictures that went into all of this. Elena, also Situation Leanne has helped just with this whole process, with us trying to get prepared to get ready for tonight. So when you look at, we're preparing our children for the future. That's what you're all about. One of the things in regards with just an overview about the budget, this is just a letter prioritizing what are we about. At this time, tonight, we're going in asking for a 4.5% increase. So that is in the amount of $39,890,661. Again, just the three guiding principles that we want to serve all students while supporting our goals. What are the key drivers in this budget? As you know, I know, and Mr. Bucci and I have spent a lot of time. He's done a great job in preparing with the Sparrow notebooks and the budget analysis that you've got tonight. Everything is very detailed. What I want to really talk about is salary and benefit increases. Just to meet contractual agreements, it was a 2.7%, right, Mr. Bucci? In regards with that, that's including certified and non-certified. 2.7%. If you don't do anything to currently what we have, it's just to sustain. We have 5 union contracts. We love our people. They do a great job, but you've got to abide by the contracts. And this is an issue throughout Connecticut, and I don't care what place you would go in the United States. We're dealing with inflation. We're dealing with these percentages, and we're also dealing with the increase in insurance premiums. We got the great deal last year with United, as Mr. Bucci well told us, and so did Mr. Pelosi. Okay, you're going to get zero charge this time for premiums, but next time it could be up to 12.9% at the highest. So when we had a budget meeting the other day, the representative was there in the whole package deal, and he said, you know, plan for that. Right now, I think we have 10% in? 12%. 12% in, thank you. The other thing that is driving the bus with all of this is just the increasing student needs and resources. The school budgets are basically the same, giving the principals, assistant principals, the same budgets that they had last year. Special education cost. This is both understand is the out-of-district transportation cost as well as in-district for special ed buses. We have a great contract with All-Star, but this is just the cost of doing business. Transportation, when you get with just sometimes one kid that can be transported, we're sending them all over the place to certain schools. You have a list of that that's also in your budget. It's very important to look at the 27 areas of just where placements currently are. But we're trying to meet the needs of all kids. Every kid is special, special ed, gifted, whatever gifted is even in their special needs. So it is a rising increase. It's about a total budget of $8 million. So, increasing again transportation and ongoing facility cost. We're going to work with the town. Our select woman is going to help us in every way that she can. But just the cost of doing business. As these buildings, things tear up. Emergencies happen. We hope that nothing else happens. You know, we're here January. What might happen by the time we wrap up in June? So where are we currently with facilities? As we watered down the budget last year, we had to get down when we were told 2.5. That's what we did. So I kept saying, Board of Ed, Salvatore, let's take facilities. Let's just water it down. Dr. Compton, how are you going to take care of buildings? I said, I don't know, but we got to do something to get it down, the budget, the percentage. So we budgeted 120. We're already $170,000 in facility costs. Okay? So it's just, we've all got to work together. We got to figure it out. So that's just the historical trend. Anytime you look at the pie chart, 70, when you look at personnel costs, it's basically 77%. That's what drives your whole initial cost of any school budget, anywhere. Some places are 80%. Okay, here's our purpose. I think this was good when we asked the Board of Select Person to come to graduation, and this is another picture here. It's all about supporting the kids. Our vision and strategic focus was about student engagement, finding culture, and community involvement. Core values, same as we talked about last year. I think what's most crucial is students come first, from the boardroom to the classroom. And every decision you make at this table is based upon what is best for kids. And that's what we truly are about. What's our budget priorities? Again, talking about the instructional cores. Kristen, Bruno, as you mentioned, this is what we want to really look at and support. Effective classroom sizes. You don't want the classroom sizes too large. That sometimes can be an issue. Okay, and again, extracurricular activities and athletics. That makes a holistic child. Budget priorities. Again, what's our basic assumptions? High inflation. Continued labor shortages. We're having teacher shortages. They had the K meeting today, and that was discussed. You know, not being able to get certified teachers. Never thought I would have faced it 5-10 years ago. Okay, enrollment. It was a slight decrease from last year. I think it's going to be stable. I think we'll have a little bit more as we start into this upcoming year. And decisions around staffing and being just really physically responsible. Now, again, higher inflation, negotiation settlements, cost of special education in district and out of district. I've covered that. Got to take care of your kids. Making decisions. What's a process? Right here. What are the needs? But you can only do so much with what you have. Historical enrollment. You've always had a history with getting this for every year, and I have a more detailed report that's in the back of your budget books, and this always gives us a pretty good projection all the way of what's the future going to be. They estimated pretty close. Here it is all the way projected to, my gosh, 2025.
possibly 5 at Chatfield, just not sure.
Can I ask a question down at the last row? What is a care full-time teacher and who, can you just talk a little bit about the other categories here?
Yeah, with CARE, this is our special needs program, and this is over at Chatfield. We have 2 care teachers, and we have 1 reach teacher at Bungie.
Oh, okay, so it's like Mrs. Otto is a care teacher,
Absolutely.
Treasure Frisbee is a care teacher.
Yes, you're
Okay.
exactly right. Very good. But this is very important, and this is something that we always do. This has been a tradition at Seymour, and this is what we've got to do so that you know exactly what is being projected as well as the principals. Okay, here we get into this level 1 priority, and it wasn't trying to pull something out of the hat, but like I said, it really was emphasized, alternative ed program, both the middle school and the high school. Okay, here's where we're at.
Can I interrupt a minute?
Yeah.
The elementary projected class size, if we
Yeah.
could go back to that a minute.
Yeah.
I don't understand where CLS, the number, or am I looking at, no, maybe I'm reading it wrong. Never mind.
It's hard to see.
Never mind.
Yeah,
Never
I
mind.
can't.
No, I'm fine,
I
thank
think
you.
is that we can go back and check.
No,
Last
no.
year we did make a mistake on one of them.
No, I'm fine.
So here's where we're at. This is what we're asking for. Here's the increase. Okay, what are the key components?
Dr. Gunther?
Yeah.
So on the page, it says additional level 1 priority request.
Yeah.
So you have included in the budget an unarmed security guard and an alternative education program for just the high school or the middle school as well?
Basically, we're looking at alternative program, middle school, high school, some
Combined.
kind of concept. The only reason that we put that in there after just going through, the one basic theme I saw it all was they want 3 permanent subs, more than anything, each of the schools. And the possibility of some type of alternative school program was emphasized by the middle school and the high school special ed director. Mr. Rourke is behind it as well, and so was Mr. Floyd, so was Mr. Lucky. I think Ms. Reynolds is the same. It's just looking at, so we went ahead, put that in the budget, we could pull it out. It's trying to be flexible. To be very honest with you, we had a draft done here by December 11th. Salvatore and I were trying to study this, we were trying to be proactive, and just looking at stuff at that point with nothing, no different than anything we had was 4%. I mean, that's getting nothing. And folks, we reduced a lot of things. I think I need to give you a list of what's been cut since I've been here. I mean, we're down to the bottom.
I
think
think
that
that the
would be very
community needs to see that list
Yeah,
of
we're-
what's been cut. The community
We're down
needs-
to the bone, and like I said, I know, understand the needs, and our first select woman is behind us. She really does. She really feels our pain, she wants to help us. But we gotta have a realistic number that our voters, whoever's listening tonight, can really understand that we're sincere.
I would really suggest that in the PowerPoint for the town, that you list the things that have been reduced over time. We always get that administratively top-heavy. If you show all the administrative positions that have been lost over the last 10 years, 15 years, I think we need to squash that.
We do, and I can't cut no more. I mean, cut any more, I might as well leave, because I can't do my job. I mean, it's
just
getting
in the
down to
past
where
years,
I
we have
can't, I
assistant
can't
principal
visionary
and,
think anymore, ways down the
sped
box
director.
with what we got. And I'm saying that sincerely.
It's just in the past couple of years, we lost an assistant principal because of the narrative that they make too much and is
Well,
not
and
needed.
just
And
certain
the
things.
assistant special ed director.
Right.
That was just in, past 2 budgets?
We've also reduced the central office position
Right,
from
yeah.
an assistant superintendent.
That's
Yep.
right.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we cut back. I mean, for many
AD.
months, I was the one person showed. I wasn't doing very good with that, but everybody was helping. Principals, Leanne, Sal, Maurice, everybody was helping.
so much academic potential here, we've never reached our highest limits. Or potential, not limits, potential, okay? So over here, just look, Salvatore, this is your expertise area. We talked about our staffing, we talked about the benefits, we did go ahead and put 12%, because that guy said at the table, that you better budget up to 12.9, and I just wanted to say, oh my gosh. Tuition and transportation cost has increased 5.6. You have the best all-star contract generally than any place in the state of Connecticut. Special education, insurance liability. That's another thing. Right now, we budgeted 10%. To be honest with you, the woman sat at the table and she said, it might go up to 13%, right, Sal? On the property and insurance.
Yeah, it's going to be probably 20% on property and about 7% on liability, averaging out to about 13 or 14%.
And last year was what?
It was 10%.
10%, right. So,
So
and
this has
like,
already changed. It's not actually 10%.
it's not
projected
actually
increase, it's
10%, so
13.
let's be perfectly honest, because we don't hide nothing from you. And that was what she said at the meeting, and they told the town too.
Maybe some, before the meeting, we had budgeted 10% across the board. And 12% across the board for the health benefits. We did not adjust the budget after the meeting, the summit, to 12.9 or to 13% on the insurance. The insurance, there's a chance between now and May when they issue the final binder, it may not be 13%. It could very well be, 10 or 11. So I'm not feeling like, and by the way, the additional 3% is roughly about $5,000.
Okay,
So
thank you.
it's peanuts.
You need to know the exact amount, that make you feel better.
Yeah.
All right, Kristen's calculating the money in. Okay.
I think I would also comment that we're lucky that we did our negotiations when we did, because the salary increases for teachers right now are coming in much higher than what
Well,
we were.
and you gotta be prepared, because
That's
what's
gonna
gonna
happen next
happen at
time.
the end of next year. And this
Yep.
is,
Fun liaison, people are gonna love
okay.
that. Have fun
Steve
liaison.
Jobs had a good quote here, we found that, gotta pick carefully. Here's I call it their Disney wish list. It's sincere. It's kind of like a summation of what they wanted.
That's 16 positions for
I
anybody who
was-
didn't count them
I
all
was
up yet.
counting 16 and 15 FTEs.
Yeah.
16 altogether, because I'm counting the,
Oh, yeah?
Figure out what the cost would be for that.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Just think, when you're talking an employee, you're talking at least $700,000. Okay, additional, this was what we did play with here. An unarmed security officer possibility, alternative education. Here's something real important, security cameras. Okay, security cameras. Because right now, with the state grant, we can get a total of $240,000 worth. The net cost of the district is $80,160 will be paid for by the state. This is very crucial. Also, Rob Dyer and Salvatore have worked on this. We've talked about why this is important. It's become outdated. Your cameras have become archaic. When we have a camera break, it's just a mess. And you want to be, some of you sit at this table are IT specialists, which I'm sure not. But you know the need, so does Derek over there. But cameras are crucial. They are crucial, and we need to really look at this and get this.
That line item with security cameras, is that bringing any into the middle school?
All four schools.
So
All four?
It'd be kind of like a ongoing fee on an annual basis to just get where they'll take care of any cameras that are broke, and it's just a really good plan. Rob has dealt with this company before. He'll come to explain more to you, but it's something that we really need to do.
I can give an overview.
I thought we had that in this year's
That's what my
budget
question
with the
Yeah,
grant.
You had it last year in the budget, and it got cut at the 11th hour.
yeah, and we
now
cut
what
it because we knew we weren't going to lose that grant.
Well, here's what happened.
And the
was
state,
It was originally set to expire on September 30th of '23,
yes.
And so we had it in the budget to try to see if we could get it done last summer. And then in August, they came back and extended the grant 2 years and asked if you wanted to accept the extension. And we, of course, so we signed it, sent it in, and now we have until September 30th of '25. So these funds are out there.
So it's this year, next fiscal year, or
So-
lose it.
Yes, so,
Yeah.
so for,
Let's go for it this year.
this is the year, if you're going to do this,
Right.
that you do this.
But I just want to clarify, when did you say it was cut? Because
It was cut in, when the Board of Finance made the cuts, we had eliminated it from the budget because we were scrambling to try to find $516,000.
So we
After the
made the decision that, all right,
After the
well,
referendum.
we're gonna
Yeah.
forego the 160 in grant. Okay,
Yeah, so-
I didn't remember it that way, but,
remember that
okay.
But we got a reprieve because now
Yeah,
it's back on
got
the
it.
table.
And kudos to the state and also the efforts, and like I said, Salvatore worked with that person, the grants, but I think that this is truly where we need to go.
If I could just make one comment on this, not to interrupt you,
Yeah,
Dr. Compton,
Yeah,
but
'cause you do, you.
a lot of this is spawned by the fact that our equipment is failing.
So,
And now we're into this patchwork thing,
don't
where
worry.
we're trying to take technology that is 10 years old, and as you all know, technology moves at a rapid pace. So now you're trying to match up new technology with old technology, the integration doesn't work. Here's the thing with the grant, it must be connected to law enforcement. That is the prerequisite for any of these funds. So while we currently have that functionality, what really was driving part of this was, are we going to throw good money after bad? And what clearly Dr. Compton will tell you is that these cameras are critical to our ability to maintain
Safety.
decorum and safety in the schools, because you can't be everywhere all at once. So I sat with Rob and said, can we do this for $240,000 such that we would spend 1/3 of it and get 2/3 of a grant? I spoke with the state and I said, I will submit our proposal for review and approval before we even move forward because it's a reimbursement grant. And we sure don't want to get stuck with a $240,000.
Yeah, that we can't pay for. So this is a win-win because Chatfield has had a lot of just cameras that are breaking down. This puts 4 schools and it brings us up to where we need to be. Yep.
If you look on page 4 of the handout I gave you, down on the bottom in non-educational, it shows technology. And it shows that the increase for the ensuing year is only $24,720. And the reason for that is because this year we had a $75,000 bond payment for
Still ain't with
smart
smart
boards
boards.
and stuff that had been bought back in 2018, 2019. The last
Town
payment
picked it up.
is this year. So I took out 75, I put in 80. The other difference in there is basically just the increased cost of Chromebooks.
Yeah, so that's where, and doing too, the big increase in Chromebooks. Very good. Okay, again, substitute teacher cost of doing business. Again, here's the pie graph, which is in Salvatore spiral as well as my notebook. Again, this is what it's all about. What's most important are our teachers in the classroom. For our kids. This is always the best chart of all. This is basically a nice bar graph, and you look at the different areas and what it's costing. It's called, like, really, it's a Cliff Notes version of the line item and where we're at with the increases. So what we did here, again, looking at 3 permanent substitute teachers, and that was to provide, just doing an estimate with single insurance for possible 2. Who knows, maybe all 3 would need it, but maybe sometimes not always.
It's just a graph.
So that's what we have. It's technology. Energy, I guess on a good point, this is something really important to emphasize. The solar panels and everything have brought the energy costs down, so that's a plus. Okay, this again is what I call another Cliff Notes version of looking at our area staffing costs, benefits and taxes, special ed, non-local, regular and special education, local and non-educational. this time, I think we went ahead and budgeted, we put in 150, right, Salvatore, for facilities?
Building repairs.
Building repairs,
Just
not
building,
facilities.
yeah, it's
Let's, again, emphasize that, it's only building repairs.
Just building, yeah. That's right.
Okay, here's again, making decisions. Here's another thing, following the same old process is likely to produce the same old results. I know. Right?
You get beat up with that.
All right, here, we're gonna go through this real fast. This is what we're proud of. This is really looking at what's been happening with the elementary and the middle and the high school. And I have to give all of our administrators credit for this. We got a very good team. I may expect a little too much out of them sometimes, but that's okay. Great moments. Here's something, this is what we celebrate at the end. It's the kids that walked across that stage. So look up here. Last year, at 138 graduates. This is a good summation of post-secondary plans, 82.3%, and then also career ed, also employment and military. This is what this is what it's about. This was very important with the improvement with the AP scholars and the bronze medal award this year. Facilities. Look, there's been some really good things happening with facilities. Jim said he did a lot of work here with this. He resurfaced the tennis courts, gym floor. I just heard today that the gym floor is down. It is, the wood is all down and they're ready to start the coating process. I mean, doing whatever they're going to coat it with. So that's important to know. So it went a little bit faster once the stuff came in, the hardware.
So, with the tennis courts,
Yeah.
you know, did we pay for that? I thought that was donated.
All donated by Tim.
So I think we should mention that, because I don't want people to interpret this as things that we're kind of
No,
saying we accomplished
Tim
with
did
town
this.
money.
He donated this. Just like Paul Haynes donated the restrooms, the building up.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they were happening until I went to a football game, so.
We were kind of kept out of the loop on that a little bit.
Well, that was something that I'll give Tim Connors. He was working very diligently with Paul Haynes and they worked something out, and I didn't know it till I saw blocks out there. But
To your
bottom
point.
line is, overall, that's just how we can improve on communication, but kudos to the Haynes and what they've done to help Seymour, and to Tim. He volunteered all of that free labor and all the materials.
And to your point, Kristen, the gym floor was largely paid for with insurance money,
Yes,
correct?
it was.
So that's another point that we should
Yeah.
make, that we didn't spend hundreds
We
of
did not.
thousands of dollars on these things.
I'm glad you're.
And we got very fortunate in both cases.
Yeah, and just like
We're
Kristen said too
expecting
about
it to
tennis
not be out of
courts,
pocket more than the
We didn't do
$10,000
that.
deductible.
Yeah, so
you've got to give
On
some.
a 200.
this is how nice things happen in
$20,000.
Seymour often, because we really can't increase our budgets enough.
Yeah, we got a gift there. Okay, even though everybody knows that I did physically cry when I was there and the water was coming down and I couldn't stop it. It got a little dramatic. Okay. Here is at the large projects. Here's what's happened. This is the history of Seymour. This is some of you who've sit on this board and good things that have happened in the past, okay? With some of your construction, the new boilers, all of this stuff. Just so you can just look at this. Again, the field bathrooms were donated by Paul Haynes, and then as we talked about the tennis court, here's the middle school, and here's the Bundy. And this is over, they finally got a new swing set at Chatfield. Yes.
If we could, I love this slide, but I think it's so critically important to put in parentheses what came out of our budget,
How
what
these
was a
were paid
grant,
for.
and what was donated.
That's excellent, Kristen. You're talking like you and your former co-partner with finance, Beth. Yeah, she would always say, Dr. Compton, the capital outlay, the capital project. So yeah, that's what needs to happen here with each of these. And Tim did a nice job bulleting this out for us. I didn't do this, he sent this.
I think also looking at just a quick glance, that looks like we've spent a lot of money at Bungie, and I don't think that's.
No, that's back
Right.
2018, and that
Especially
was
now.
also the solar panel
all worked out.
But I think the proportion of what was done at Chatfield over that same amount of time and what was done at Bungie should,
Well, you
Yeah.
know, what we
Does
could
look
add,
funny, yeah.
we could add the date of last major renovation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right up at the top of
Mhm.
SHS, you know,
Yeah.
Right.
Science Wing
Yeah.
2005,
And you would
whatever
be
it
very
was.
proud, in the PowerPoint that we did for the towns,
Scary.
that I asked Lauren Reed to prepare, Becky Bennett
This is
presented,
scary
did a
slide.
beautiful job, and Tim Connors. One of the things about when were the renovations done of
Takes
these
a lot of
projects?
explaining.
And poor old Buggy's not been anything since 1996.
that's why I don't want that last slide
And we'll
to
put that up there
contradict
and
it.
we'll clarify too, like what you said, because the public, they need to see it, revise it, like you said, was it grant money? People donated it?
Right.
Yeah.
I think were some things that happened at CLS since 2018. Didn't they have some repair work that needed to happen with
Downstairs, there was a,
geothermal?
Oh,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had that
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So there's probably a couple of things that could be, should be.
Yeah. So anyhow, and this is just a way to say communication. We can all get better. I think this is important. Some of our partnerships that have gone on, I think this is important to emphasize and give credit. We're really excited about too with the Griffin Health Program and how that has started off at the high school into the second year. Also, the EMT program was just an initiative from the high school itself. So these are just people that are players, team. They've always been a critical partner, and Jay Hatfield is on the team. He's one of the board of directors there. Just people
We
who
could
help.
put Cabe up there too, now that we have district reps.
Right, and here's our business and student partnerships, some of these workplace things. We worked with Basement Systems, that's where we called Lucky, and I said, let's go up and talk to these people. And look here, out of all of this, a lot with the manufacturing, that Mr. Lucky's been able to bring in some people with the workplace and everything else.
I just want on the community and school partnership
Yeah.
slide, can we make an adjustment pending what other
Yeah,
people
make me
think?
know, help me.
Taking CIAC and NVL off, because they're sort of governing bodies.
Yeah.
I don't really see them as community partnerships.
They're not, they're
Yeah,
just
I agree.
mandatory people,
I
really.
agree with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So don't let me forget that.
But I love this business and student partnership page because of who's not there.
And all the ones that need to be there.
Cause what's not there?
Because I want
Adding.
big businesses to see that they are not here.
Oh,
And be like,
And
oh
how
my
important
gosh.
it is, would be wonderful, for example, with each school to have a business partner. And also, in the past, it's great, I've dealt with high schools where we had each class was sponsored with a business.
Oh, that's
Maybe
neat.
we should start putting this up on a plaque in front
Yeah,
of all
we
the
need to
schools
start
every
one
year.
after. Yeah. And basement systems.
Prominently displayed.
Yeah. And
Wow, that
basement
might be a
systems
good
have
idea.
been wonderful
You should
to
be
us,
here
and it
for
all
that.
started out with the visit. So,
Thank you to all these.
and I got a picture of all the
great
graduates.
partners.
Here's our academic and career partnerships. This is really good. This is something I have to really salute to the high school, especially with post-university and working with those dual credit, especially with their kids in manufacturing. Dual credit with UConn has been exceptional at the high school. There have been some good things that went on. So this is just a nice little summation. Taking care of our kids. Look how many kids are transported. Not all of them get on the bus, but they could. Meals, I think this is real important. One of the things mentioned this morning at the K representation of this region, the importance, wouldn't it be great to bring back free meals? If you could do anything, I think.
everybody.
Everybody. It's the
Everybody.
best thing ever happened. I know Stefan said that, and it really.
The gentleman made a very good point that the median household income to qualify for free lunch is $39,000.
yeah.
How many people do you know can survive on $39,000?
For a family of
For a
four.
Yeah.
Family of four,
Everybody.
right?
Yep.
This is so important. And
But someone who
our
makes
governor-
$50,000, they could pay for it, no problem.
Yeah, not.
Yeah, so this is something I would hope they could bring back. You know, we had free lunch until December 11th or whatever the date cut off. Here again, we were proud, being one of the high schools. And we're proud we haven't celebrated this, but we are. We're going to celebrate with Chatfield being named the school of distinction. And, like I said, there's a lot of things to be proud. This is our second assistant
I think Ernie was also.
Ernie was too, absolutely. 2017, I've studied my history. Mr. Miss Stacy was Seymour, Assistant Principal of the Year. And then 2022 was Lauren Reed, and now Mr. Lucky. So we got 3 out of our 10 administrators. Here's great moments. Sorry about, I don't know how that one got in there, but that was the day of the Christmas parade. And this little girl, she decided she wanted to have her picture made with me. And I thought, okay, she wants to have a picture with me, let's go for it. Okay, here's great moments every day, celebrations. This was this bunch of AP scholars that evening. Again, just looking at our kids and the success stories. Here were 2 of our athletes. Again, just really good things. This is your 2017 valedictorian. He's an MIT graduate. He was at the White House talking about artificial intelligence. His brother, younger brother, is still a student here at Seymour High School, and he's got another brother that was a graduate from Harvard. It's your Seymour grads. So, again, a lot to be proud of. It's not about where you go, it's the success in the end, and the kind of student that you end up being as an adult. Making a difference. Here was the buddy bench. This was a part, Lori, of your initiative, and this was something very important to First Select Woman about the buddy benches. So that has started, and that's a good concept. We hope to have one at our schools, and she's putting more in town. Again, this is more with these athletic groups. This is some of our just various groups. This was fun. This was Halloween in Chatfield. It's all about student learning. Here's some of the success. They're showing off their banner, girls softball. So, again, we have a lot to be proud of. We all have a lot to be proud of. Our community, our parents, and our kids. And like I said, this budget business is always a tough process. We gotta look through it, use your expertise, and see what we can come up with. But we're all in it together. As First Select Woman said, Dr. Compton, we've all got to come together. We've all got to be in this together. And I think we've got to really come forth and do a good job when we present. Kristen, you're an expert with this, so any way that can help us, corners or whatever. We're there for me many meetings, and hopefully we all won't have as many meetings again, I'm not sure. But we let the process work, and it's what we do. But I'm proud of what we've done, and hopefully what we're going to accomplish. So, big thank you to everybody. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you both, Dr. Compton and Mr. Bucci.
Now,
Yeah, it's hard to not look at this page here, right?
yeah,
Like this summary of, I'm guessing changes, right?
right,
just changes.
yeah, I
Changes
call it the
from
Cliff Notes
year to
version.
year. Staffing costs, can't do anything. Benefits, can't do anything. Special ed, can't do anything. So when it boils down to it, we do so much with so little in this district. And I'm just wondering when we won't have to, and when it becomes, when is it our turn to get a little shine on this trophy? Because really the only non-educational things, which is the most important thing, is educational. There's nothing really new, right? There's nothing.
No, there's not,
nothing
and
new coming.
I'm being very, very realistic, very fair and honest, putting everything out there. We have an outstanding staff here. I mean, we all can improve, including me. I'm just saying that you have something special here at Seymour. You have good people, and you have good administrators, and you have, like I said, there's a lot of good things going on here. We have good parents, and we have a good Board of Ed. We might sometimes, every now and then, disagree on something, but we're here to do what's best for kids.
But what I'm saying is there's no new programs.
No, there's not.
There's no new classes, there's
No.
no marching band, there's no new
No.
sports, there's no new music programs.
No.
It's basically
It's
last
bare
year,
bones.
this year.
It's the same as last year, except we put in about 3 permanent subs. We put in about an unarmed security officer, some kind of security officer, and we talked about an alternative program. That's what it is in a nutshell. It's nothing else. It's in there.
Could we get into some of the numbers and questions?
Oh, absolutely.
So my first question is in the page number 3, starting with the pie chart with the table together. I just kind of want to get it out of the way. This might have been addressed last night. We expect to have a $62,000 deficit at the end of this year, Mr. Bucci?
That's what I reported last night at the Finance Committee meeting. The numbers that are in here, this is as of December 31st. So the year-to-date projection is what I did last night. As I mentioned last night, that's a fluid number. It could very well, I mean, obviously the goal is to get it to 0 so that we stay within our appropriation. What I reported last night was it's being driven by the fact that we were woefully short in our budget for building repairs and maintenance. Year-to-date, we're 73,000 over budget on building repairs and maintenance. Over the 110 that we took the number down 130 from the 240 that we started with. So absent that and absent any other catastrophes, if you will, we probably are going to be able to manage that number down. I'm going to obviously try to find ways to, balance the budget out by the time we get to the end of the year.
So we can't go $63,000 over, and I don't really think we should start out this budget season and conversation showing that we expect to be in a deficit situation. I mean, the deficit that we had previously, we could really explain that. That was mishandling of money.
The reality of this is we got a 2.5% budget this year.
I know, we all know the reality,
Yeah.
but I'm just pointing out that there is no precedent in this town to just say, oh, we think we're gonna be $65,000 over budget, right? So we need to, I see what you're saying, but I'm telling you, we can't be.
Well, here's what I will tell you, though. We went to the budget summit, and I think the town is sitting in the same position we're in because they imposed a freeze yesterday, okay?
They do every year.
We freeze naturally because we control our costs and we don't, because of the PO system and the way we're going about things just don't get approved if they don't,
Yeah,
if
and
they're
if
not
we have to
provided for in the
freeze
budget.
whatever we do,
period.
I mean, I don't expect a deficit. I think we've really planned accordingly.
Well, we planned
it's just the
accordingly except for
facilities.
building repairs and maintenance, which
So
is.
that's what we need to say, Mr. Bucci. We need to be clear that says something like, we had a $75,000 unexpected expenditure to fix a furnace. We don't know where we're getting this money for, therefore we're showing this deficit as of right now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just to clarify, because I truly think, I mean, we're sitting right now, and we've had 1 or 2 positions that have not been filled all year. So, technically, there've been some savings there, folks. I mean, we have to put the true facts on the table, but it's been rob Peter to pay Paul, because it's been so limited with the 2.5. But, I mean, with the due diligence, if we have to freeze something, we'll freeze. We gotta do what we gotta do, and I know the town's doing their due diligence too. I mean, they immediately froze with their expenditures, so.
It would be ideal not to have anything in parentheses going to budget conversations with the Board of Finance. And Chris, I'm interested in your thoughts.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Yeah, we don't want that.
Sorry, I distracted him.
I'm just saying, I don't think we should be showing any anticipated deficit going into budget conversations with the town.
Not if we have money in other areas that we.
That's right.
And there is
Yeah,
some,
that's
there
what
is
it
some
No.
So,
possibility.
So, I mean, look,
you can move stuff around, but
Yes.
I mean, the financial report's the financial report, it's public information.
I'm
Yes.
perfectly
Anybody
happy to
can-
give you a report every month that shows that you're gonna break even for the rest of the year. What I don't like is giving you people surprises,
Okay, but
And I don't like distorting a picture that shows that we are not running up against a very tight area when in fact we know that we more than cut the repair and maintenance budget in half. It was a 240, it's now down to 110. It is not possible. And I don't think it's fair to say that, well, we are simply just not going to project a deficit because we don't think the optics are
Mr.
good.
Bucci, I need to really, really stress this.
It's
I've been in
optics.
this town for 14 years, I've been doing this.
Yes.
We cannot go into budget conversations saying, we're gonna have a deficit because you only
Well,
gave
we
us
did it 2
2.5%.
years ago when you were 629,000.
Sal, please,
No, but-
please,
but it-
let me finish. So what we need to do, and I feel like I'm kind of channeling Jay, who's not here, because he's been asking for well over a year that mid-year through, maybe we need to be doing some transfers to realign our budget if we know we're running over in one place and under another place. So if there's money sitting in the salary budget of positions we haven't filled, let's go ahead and make that formal transfer in the system so that, and then we tell the narrative. When someone sees facilities going up, we
What
say,
the issue is.
it's not a real doubling. It's bringing us back up to what we originally wanted last year, but we need to be able to tell a little bit of a cleaner story and not start out on page 3 showing a deficit, which will derail conversations about moving forward. I'm not saying to fudge anything.
No.
I'm just saying we've got to find the money right now to close the gap of this anticipated decrease.
And then-
We cannot get to the end of the year or go from now to then as we're trying to pass a budget saying, oh, by the way, we're going to be over budget this year.
So the way I do my projections, for instance, as it relates to vacant positions, is we've captured, when you look at the financial report, you will see what we've captured so far in savings and in line, let's call it certified staff. But it projects for the rest of the year that you will at some point fill that position. And therefore, will ultimately spend the dollars that you would have spent in, say, January to June for that position. So the budget shows, when you look like last night, it's showing approximately 200 and something thousand dollars of a positive variance in the certified staff area. Those are realized savings.
That's right.
They're offset by other areas. So what the budget is doing without the formal transfer process you're talking about is in fact doing the transfer process and saying, the net result of this is that if we were to continue to try to fill all the positions that are in the budget that remain unfilled, we would wind up where I'm projecting we're going to be. Now, the problem you're running into, we discussed in the Finance Committee, was that we are currently running over budget in substitute teachers because it's costing us more to try to provide coverage than it would be if we actually had the staff. So I'm not trying to be argumentative. What I'm trying to say is I have factored in what you're talking about in terms of the offsets without necessarily going through the formal process of moving
I
something from
totally
one line
get
to
that.
another.
I 100% get that, and that's why I've never pursued this idea of doing formal transfers, because I know it literally all comes out in the wash. So, but what I think we can and should do is for some of those positions that have not been filled, but it's in the budget now, anticipating we just need to declare we're not filling them this year.
Well, the one with the school psychologist, we're not going to be able to.
So
So we
there you
just
go.
need right there the rest of it and
That's
be done with it.
That's exactly right.
Because we
And
can't
now we don't
find
show the
one,
deficit.
and at this point, we're having a plan, or others are doing the best they can, and sometimes we may have to supplement with a little bit of money after, if they're doing an assessment after hours, but that's what we got to do.
If I may, just another point of clarification for the public. The town has the luxury of running a deficit. They can run a relatively large deficit. They have reserve. We do not have reserve. We don't have that luxury. Just another thing to consider. as
Well,
we
and
get
also
into this.
too, I do think as well, I know that First Select Woman did say if we ran into issues about facility repairs, that they could possibly help, they would help out.
That's not what that's
I
not the
know.
point I'm making. That's nice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I know
literally
what
they
you're saying.
have to, so that's nice, but it's, okay, good. But the way the education budget and the town budget work are very, very different.
That's exactly right,
People
Stefan.
need to understand that
Yeah.
we literally cannot spend $1 more than we budget.
That's
They
right.
can spend millions more than they
That's
budget.
right.
if
And
they
we
want
can't
to.
we're not going to go into a deficit.
You know, if I could just make one,
Can't.
my job, as I perceive it, is to give you the best information for you to make the decisions you need to make. You've just played right into my hand, which is saying, wait, if you're really projecting a deficit, we then have to decide we're not going to fill that position, and then Mr. Bucci is going to take the remainder of that position out of the budget for the rest of the year. But given the track we're on, and the fact that we have these jobs posted, and we are trying to fill these, I'm anticipating in the budget that at some point these expenditures are going to start up again, and that's where we would wind up. So, yes, decisions are going to be
I'm not saying you're doing
made.
anything wrong, and I really resent you saying I played into your hand, but setting that aside.
And I didn't mean that in a bad way. I
Well,
meant
it
that
sounded
you
in a bad
actually
way.
are using the data that I'm giving you
Well-
because it's accurate to make an informed decision.
You know, I can just tell you as a school superintendent, sometimes you freeze positions. And this is a discussion about, you know, we'd have loved to have a school psychologist, they're not out there right now. We gotta wait till more graduates come out, and that's where we are, and we're not filling it. So that can resolve the 69, whatever. Sorry, we just need to move on about it. But that's an excellent point, Stefan, about, in regards about we can't end
We
in.
need to keep educating the public every
Yeah.
step of the way on as minute detail as we need to.
So there's two takeaways I have from this whole conversation, and I
Yeah.
agree with everybody. We need the accurate information. We have to make decisions based on that accurate information because we can't go over. But we also have to use that information to plan next year's budget and the
That's
work
right.
that we're doing right now. And so the information is that we have to be more accurate in, and we were at first, but we were cut, but we have to communicate what are the costs to
Unexpected
maintain
emergencies.
our buildings.
Yeah.
And we have to budget for that appropriately.
Yes, all yes, and that is one of the problems in having our budget unilaterally cut by the finance committee, because that gets cut, and we're ready to start the school year, maybe 8 weeks later, maybe even less, right? So it almost feels silly to take our $35 million budget and reallocate everything to account for $300,000. So all we did not go over in our facilities budget. We just said, we don't know how the heck we're going to cut and do this, so we're just going to take it out of facilities, right? So it's not even like we didn't budget well.
No,
Right,
It's just
right.
truly
Budgeted
what we did. We were
appropriately.
desperate to find a code
Right.
that wouldn't affect kids and student achievement.
Right.
And offhand,
That's what we did.
We have 110 this year, what are we budgeting for next year?
150 I put in here for next year in this budget.
In the middle of January, we're already at 170?
We're at
Well, we
170.
just kinda
We're
had some
projecting to be at
unexpected-
170 based on,
So we're just going to be doing the same
Right.
conversation
No.
next year.
you brought the point up earlier, Chris, when you looked at basically what's in here, what's on that sheet. Except for the 3 initiatives of the alternative education, the 3 permanent building subs, and the school resource officer, which is 0.6. The budget I handed Dr. Compton on December 11th was 3.9. It went to 4.5 with just those 3 initiatives. The 3.9 is the floor. Last year, the 3.8 was the floor, and it wound up at 2.5. So I think there's probably a better scenario under which the buildings can be maintained, and it may very well be that some of this can be picked up by the town. Because if there's a mindset that for some reason we're playing with building repair and maintenance money, that couldn't be any farther from
I
the
don't
truth.
think there's a mindset that we're playing with anything.
No, not you.
No,
I meant
collectively,
the public.
townwide.
I mean, because when something happens, we have to fix it. And, I would certainly say we don't waste money and fritter it away, and we try to do things as best, as least expensive as possible. But the pressure on the educational side of the budget from the non-educational side of this business, the infrastructure side of this business, is something that needs to be reconsidered as it relates to the overall maintenance of all of these buildings.
And I think something
that's
to
gonna
it,
be here well after we're all done.
well, and the bottom line is,
And
I
you'll be
mean, when
along
we
the
really
line.
look, when we really look at this is a discussion that can happen with the town, and I think the town is open to the type of discussion, okay? We can at least try, and I think they are. But this is, as far, like you said, as a deficit with one or two positions. We've also not had a business teacher all year, and we've had subs. That's 2 positions, folks. So, you know, we've had a lot more going on. We had a music teacher that came in late that was finally hired. So we've had some transitional situations of not being able to staff immediately. So,
So I don't think, we don't have a goal of voting on anything tonight, right?
no,
Or
no, this
No.
is good
So
discussion.
I just want to put it out there that I really want to see our facilities line item go up to what it at least started at last year before it got cut. And we just have to keep driving home this point that this is what it costs to run our buildings. And if at some point during the budget process, the town wants to say, actually, we think we can absorb, then
So
great,
no,
cut
but-
it out of
yeah.
our budget at that point. But I don't want to start us out with $150,000 in facilities, knowing, to Chris, your point, we've already at 170.
I think too, in reviewing exactly, you know, what was in there the year before and exactly, you know, over the years, what has been the trend.
Yeah.
Actuals over several years.
What we asked.
What were some of the things that were big this year that put us to the 170?
As I recall, we had
Yeah, the
a
geothermal.
pump at Chatfield and Presti.
We had the pool situation.
Yeah, the pool, the tanks leaking in the pool filters gave out because of the corrosive nature of the liquid chlorine that we had been using here for the last 15, 20 years. You know, and it just all gave, you know, we made the conversion to the chemical and presto, the tanks went anyway. And so we had a lot of visits, mechanical visits.
Especially by the
Clogged
HVAC
toilets.
companies, yeah.
That
The one HVAC
constantly
company.
Cleaning, coming out, especially, because we're in the high school, I hear more about the high school, but I can't tell you the stuff that they find that's been flushed down the toilets. That just basically clogs up. No, that just clogs up the system. Well, I don't want to even,
Is there any kind of, and I probably
We
already
can
know
come up with
the
a
answer
list
to this,
of showing
but like
what.
the HVAC companies, is there like a contractual thing where they're coming in and doing routine maintenance and it's not costing us anything, it's part of
we
our...
have contract services, that's a different line item.
Oh, yeah.
We
that's
have
true.
HVAC services,
That's
we have all kinds of.
Contractual
I mean, if you go
There's
to-
a whole page
here,
of that.
If you go
Yeah,
in here,
that's true, I bet.
Yeah.
I listed, what I tried to do was to put in here a representative sample of the kinds of contracts that we are having to
Obligated
deal
to.
with.
So why don't we just start going through this?
So, you know, if you went to page 23, okay, you're going to see, for instance, all the building contract services, HVAC, burglar fire alarm, elevator maintenance, termite control, sprinklers, hazardous waste, emergency lighting, et cetera, et cetera. But the area that gets us the most is the unexpected repair. And, you know, can you work an arrangement out with some of these companies in which we can say that we want a bulk rate plan that when we call you out 5 times in a week that you're going to do that? It's worth the shot. But apparently,
Least they
you
can
know,
say is no.
you know, they obviously have a good customer in the town and the BOE in repairing our buildings. You know, I don't know. I don't know whether that's.
Yeah, I think about just doing the cost of business. I think it'd be good to show you exactly with these facilities, the cost of the repairs of what we're dealing with.
I think trend lines would be
Trend
really
lines, yes,
helpful.
that's definitely something that's needed. Stefan, you thinking of a suggestion?
keep going. If you're-
Okay, so I mean, I think that having Mr. Connors prepare just a list of, what were some of these repairs that we're dealing with. I do know HVAC and the sewer system at the high school has been a multiple expense that you got into several thousands of dollars. Technically, they've had a heating issue here Monday. They had, the system went down on Sunday. Simmons, HVAC outfit had to come back in here. And the kids didn't have heat for an hour, but we got it resolved. I mean, there's just been some ongoing, and then like if a pipe burst or unexpected. But just looking at the budget as a whole, Sal, when you start on page 6 of the Sparrow Notebook, he's listed all the cost of administration, custodial services, health insurance, professional education services. We have went down in legal fees pretty good. I'll have to say, we've really worked on that with both special education legal fees and general counsel fees, yes.
So, we're in the last year of a teacher's contract.
Yes,
Are we going to
one more year.
start that back? Like,
Yeah.
when do you plan negotiations starting?
They have to be a year.
Gotta be a year
in
ahead,
advance for
so it'll
So
start.
you're gonna see an uptick in
Yes.
legal fees?
I put $25,000 in for.
You
collective
gotta
bargaining.
look at, in regards
In the
about
budget.
legal and who you want to do these contracts and the situation again. It was very expensive the 1 year, it had to be, but just looking at that, but I just want you to know, this past year, and last year, we really brought the legal fees down.
Well, it's not, I don't know how wise it is to count on legal fees being low or getting lower, because the nature of the legal
need.
system is things can arise
And
on a
unexpected
moment's
times.
notice. Yeah.
Absolutely, right, Stefan. You can't always put a number on it. But just there in general, there's the tuition, the transportation, even to the voc ag schools. Another, the water and sewer fees, electricity, you get utilities on page 7. Salvatore explained well about with the technology supplies. Rob Dyer did a nice budget this time, detailed, specific, not that he doesn't always do a budget, Derek, with what you all deal with. Just the ongoing expenses. Adult ed is something we're required on page 8. Again, nursing services, we're lucky that we've been able to maintain and have nurses. We heard this morning that some of the school districts having a hard time getting a school nurse. Custodial services, we really tried to address overtime and to keep that number down. Of course, with athletics, they don't practice on Sundays, but sometimes if it's been a day, whatever, Saturdays, we've worked diligently bringing that down, or unless there's an unexpected emergency that the custodians have to come in and repair something. Again, just on page 9. I think on page 10, I think this is always a favorite page of you, Kristen. Salvatore showed all the way going back to, 2018. And you look at the cost of doing business now, before COVID, after COVID. And then on page 11, looking at year-over-year budgets, expenditures, and budgets versus the actual variance. Page 12, again, employee benefits. I like on page 13, on the employee benefits calculation. Anything you want to add to that, Salvatore?
No, this.
Nice chart.
As we, on page 13, really that's just a breakdown of how we arrive at the total of employee benefits, which includes taxes and pension contributions. So the big driver here is just the 12% that we factored in for the premium rates.
Yeah.
As you'll notice, when that goes up by 12%, so does the employee portion of the copay, because they pay the same increases that we would pay on our side. Aside from that, most everything else is pretty stable. We did have a reduction in, if you look at the last line item, retirement compensation, those are your longevity payments that you pay out over 5 years. Those are beginning to expire. We only have $31,000 budgeted for next year, we had 92,000 this year. We have some, people dropping off because you haven't invoked an early retirement incentive plan now for the last couple of years. But when you look at these costs, I mean, pension, I added 1% to MERS, to CMERS, because I don't expect the state's going to just hold the rate.
And that was a big increase last year.
No, what happened last year was it was a big increase, and then at the 11th hour in June, they rolled it back because
It
there
helped,
was a
made the
huge
big
outcry
change.
across the, they raised it 2.5%, and then they rolled it back to.
And got reasonable.
So we wound up that's one of the things we captured when we did the reclass last summer was I was able to say, okay, because it actually happened on June 30th. We got it on the last day. I didn't even think it was going to come through. So we were able to say, whoop, we picked it up here, and now we can use it to cover some of the cuts that we had to make. Again, so now I've pushed it only 1%. I don't have any idea, but I don't think 1% is going overboard in terms of an anticipated projection as it relates to the pension benefit, because the state pension fund is underfunded. So they are going to have to get caught up somehow, and they're not going to get caught up by continuing to roll back rates or hold rates steady. So I think it was a one-time deal. I don't know what the state's plans are. If you look at all the rest of these things, they're all pretty much constant. We stabilized that everyone gets the same contribution in their HSA plan, 30% across the board. That came out of the renegotiated collective bargaining agreements that we have. And the only difference, the only reason there's an increase in Social Security and Medicare is because wages went up. That's the only
Right.
reason. There's no projected rate increase on that. So really, the budget increase, if you look at it, is at 9.5% when you factor in 12% on the largest line item in the entire category, which is your 4.7 million of premiums, which is projecting to go to 5.4. The other thing you should know is it is probably going to be 12.9. Our claims rate is running at about 140%. So,
I'm going to give you copies of that, what they
so
shared with us.
United Healthcare came in and they wrote us a 2-year deal. This year was huge for us to get the rollback we got. The second year.
140%, that makes me really nervous.
Yeah,
Not
I will
for
show you the,
24, 25.
No, the 25,
5,
26.
6 is going to be a.
And we already in the budget summit talked about alternatives. Do they look at the state partnership plan? Do they look at, what do you do? Lockton attended, they're the broker who handles us in the town. They're already on top of this because they know that we might be in a position like we were in last year when Anthem came through and wanted 28% or whatever, 30% or whatever they wanted. We're starting to run out of alternatives, I would think, because you've been through Cigna, Anthem, now we're at United Healthcare. What's left? Aetna, the partnership program. The problem is
The
that,
only things that would benefit us is to have regionalized with other schools.
well, they've
districts.
discussed that even.
Big
Yeah,
pool,
that
yeah,
has been
population.
mentioned as well, and also the state plan and regionalization. So they got to come back, that's the biggest, but I'll send you a copy of exactly what the claims were.
But having an insurance agent, broker, vendor, I don't even know what Lockton's considered. If the
Consultant.
surrounding districts don't also use them, they're not gonna shop for them. So it might be something that we have to do on our own? You know
Well,
what I mean?
they're looking at everything, what is the best, or if the board was deciding, by themselves,
Regionalization
or them by
is-
themselves, but really looking at, these people are really on it with the plan. I mean, they're seeing, it's just a real alert to claims and just premium increases, and it's not just us, it's other places where the insurance rates.
Here's where your limitation comes.
400 members.
Our contracts, our collective bargaining agreements specifically provide for a certain benefit. If the other districts in the region who we would want to collaborate with
have a
have a
difference.
more flexible collective bargaining agreement that enables them to alter. In private industry, employers all the time say, well, next year, instead of just having your deductible of $4,500 and then you only have copays of 5, 10, and 25 or whatever it is for prescription drugs over and above that, we're going to add copays for emergency room visits, doctor visits, this and that and the other things. So even after you do your $4,500 base high deductible, now there are more copays because your out-of-pocket limit is more than the $4,500. It's $6,500 or $10,000 or whatever it is. And so the idea is you are supposed to have out-of-pocket expenditures beyond that. But the way our collective bargaining agreements are written is it specifically says you have this. And then, so to change the underlying plans to make them more economically feasible for both the employer and the employee would require changes in collective bargaining. It would require us in negotiations putting it on the table and saying, when our rates go up 20%, your employee paycheck contribution goes up 20%. If we're going to try to mitigate that, we have to look at changes to the plans. And this is happening, well, everywhere in non-governmental agencies, but certainly I've seen it over the years. In fact, I've promoted those things when I worked in private industry where you say, we simply cannot afford this increase. What can you do to the plan that'll make it possible for us to continue to provide an offering, but not necessarily the one that's as rich as the one we have now? It just appears here that our hands are tied. We offer one plan. Perhaps we start offering HMOs instead, in addition to high deductible plans or straight premium plans that the premiums are higher. I mean, there are, like for instance, the partnership plan is not a high deductible
That's
plan.
nothing we could control tonight.
No,
But I'm
and-
saying, to your point, Chris, we're going to have to start thinking about adding options or alternatives if we want to get the cost down, because the track we're
Sal,
on of a single
respectfully,
plan-
we will do that, but we have enough things to think about right now.
That's
We'll get
gotta
there,
be-
we will get there, I
I'm not
promise.
trying to sidetrack you, I'm just saying.
Let's-
Yeah,
it's
that's
right
gotta
now
be a
we're
plan
handcuffed.
for the future, and also you gotta
But
make
I
sure
don't know
it's
if
equitable.
just like in your dealings with the valley superintendents, if you can maybe start planting some seeds about
We did in the past, and some have went with regional. Like I said, the guy that was representing, they are on it. They're realizing what they're up against, and we'll have, negotiations coming up and the contractual agreements. I think they may have to go more regional. I think they really are gonna have to go with the state plan. When you look at variations out there, there's the percentages, but, the contracts say, equal type of insurance,
Substantially
folks.
similar.
So that's what I'm saying, and that's what our people will expect, that there's ways to look and see what we can do. But this is not a discussion for tonight. He knows a lot about it from the private industry. I'm just telling you from contractual agreements, my experience in New Jersey with 3 different districts, and they all went to one same plan, and it ended up being a state plan. This is a problem not only in Connecticut, it's throughout the country. And this is something that's above right now, like you said. He's warning you, this is what's coming down the road, but we're going to have to work together and get these experts to figure out.
Along the lines of
Yeah, let's get through
thinking
this.
about the real thing here, can I make a suggestion that we break for tonight and go
Yep.
home, do some homework, think about items that we may want to add to this proposed budget? I want to point out, Sal alluded to this, by my calculations, which may be off by some number, 0.77% is the increase when you factor in only new things we're asking for, which includes additional money in facilities and technology, which is really not new things.
Right.
Yeah, right, exactly. So
I think it's actually even less than that.
yeah,
because-
it's very, very little, essentially. It's well less than 1%, maybe as little as 0.5% or less. So there may be things that we collectively think should be added to this, at least in our first proposal. But I would like some time to digest and
Right,
think
and
about
I
it.
think
And I
that's-
think 2 hours is enough for
And I think that's excellent. This is what this is, purpose is, a working session. It's the first time that you've had actually the notebooks. You did get a little preliminary before, but that really wasn't sitting down here and looking and analyzing and hearing what we have and looking at priorities. This is a lot to study. And, you know, there's other districts that are having same issues in regards looking at all these increases in premiums and contractual needs and whatever.
So before somebody goes crazy and
Yeah, let's talk
gives a
about a
motion
date.
to adjourn,
I do
Leanne
not.
sent, no, I just know it's coming.
Yeah.
Leanne, I believe you sent out a doodle
Yeah,
for
let's-
some availability for upcoming meetings. It sounded like we're probably gonna need one at least.
How
maybe
can we talk
possibly
about
two.
Probably.
I sent out 3.
Yeah.
If not 3 or 4 after other
Yeah,
meetings.
and we have to have it in by the end of the month to the town hall.
I
Kristen?
just have a clarification question as we take this away and try to study it. Mr. Bucci, on page 13, what is the pink box that says shared services, 10%?
That's what we pay for Mr. Connors, Mr. Alosi, and
Mr. Dyer.
and Mr. Dyer.
Their
So
medical.
Why is it
Sure.
hanging out on the side? Like, how do we factor that into the budget?
I just wanted you to be able to see, when you look at the, let me go to page 13 here.
Yeah.
When you see the line where it says shared services, and it says $11,794. If you look in the column under proposed budget,
That's our percent.
are you looking at this here? You see it, you looking at this page?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you go down to the second to the last number that's in the first,
Yes.
above second, 11,794, I just wanted you to see what that was. In other words, just putting in the number of 11,794, which is our cost, you know, for,
Oh, so this
See-
is the total, 117 is the total?
we're paying 10% against, for benefits, we're paying.
It's our benefits.
We're paying 10% of the total.
11,794 is 10% of the total cost of that.
The town
That's
gave me
right.
this number and
Yes.
said, this is what it costs for us to provide benefits to our people.
Okay.
Our agreement is to pay 50% of the salary and 10% of the
Percent
benefits.
of the
Got it.
benefits.
Okay?
Okay?
So I didn't want anyone to misinterpret that as being shared services for salaries or whatever it is for benefits.
Strict benefits. yeah.
Right, so straight back to the dates. Next, Wednesday, the 17th, is that workable Wednesday?
I thought we were doing the doodle.
What?
Yeah, we did the doodle.
The doodle.
Oh, okay. So what did you do?
So we can look at it
Yeah,
more
that's
carefully.
one day next week, that's not good for me either.
It was the 17th, the 22nd, or the 29th. Those are
Okay.
the 3 options.
17, 22nd, 29. Oh, great. 17, child's birthday.
Can't wait
and
till
another
29th, that's
child's
too late.
Yeah, 29th is too late
No,
for.
no.
a
You gotta have it
meeting.
turned into, yeah.
Well, but like we said, like Ed said, can we?
Let's do the doodle.
Yeah,
I did.
you know,
And
all of us do the doodle as she requested, and we'll find.
I think that should be our theme for the year, do the doodle.
Do the doodle.
And if there's something that we want to add it to the budget, like I am in huge favor of doing something with the substitute pay, whether it's a percentage based on minimum wage or some other,
Yeah, we've got to do that.
Send
some
that to
other
us.
thing. Let's try and get that in so that if there's any numbers that need to be run, I
That
really would
change.
still love to
Yes.
see an analysis
Yeah.
of
I'll get that done.
substitute
We
pay
wanna see
versus
exactly what's
teachers.
been paid out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's, so you're looking at your doodle?
Yeah,
Okay, so,
okay.
Not now.
Not now. So
Not
I'm
now.
gonna make a motion to adjourn.
okay,
Motion
okay, so
by
we'll get the
Kristen,
meetings time set up.
Second by
It's in-
Stefan.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Opposed? All right, motion to adjourn.